Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you may be in this wonderful world. My name is Mark Campbell, and I'm a financial aid counselor at Nassau Community College. Today, I just wanted to do a little bit more in terms of going into the financial aid process. If you follow me on my YouTube channel, you see that I did a financial aid presentation where I focused on federal aid. But in addition to federal aid, I want to also go a little bit deeper into state programs, school programs such as grants and scholarships, as well as other, which is one of my favorite topics when it comes to financial aid. Now, just to start with federal aid, the federal aid process starts with filing the free application for federal student aid, the FAFSA. By filing a FAFSA, a student is filing essentially for all of the federal programs. The federal Pell Grant, which is a grant, which is money you do not have to pay back. For the 2023-2024 academic year, a student can receive up to $7,395 from the federal Pell Grant. In addition to the federal Pell Grant, a student can also file for FSEOG, the Federal Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant. With that particular grant, depending on your school, you can receive up to $4,000 from that federal grant. In addition to those two federal grants, by filing a FAFSA, a student can also determine their eligibility for the Federal Direct Loan or the Federal Stafford Loan. That is a loan that as an entering freshman, a student can borrow up to $5,500. Now, of that $5,500, depending on your financial aid eligibility, up to $3,500 of that amount can be subsidized, where essentially the student does not accrue any interest on that portion of the loan until they go into repayment. Now, with the Stafford loan, the student does not have to begin repayment until they graduate or leave school. And it's not just graduating from your four-year school. You graduate from your four-year school and you enroll in graduate school, law school, medical school. As long as you're enrolled, matriculating, working towards a degree, at least half time in terms of your enrollment status, you do not have to start loan repayment with the federal direct loan. Now, in addition to those federal grants and loan programs, by filing the FAFSA, a student can also get work assistance. There's a program called Federal Work Study, where students work on campus and they're paid through a grant from the federal government to the school. So that's why they require students be financial aid eligible to participate in that particular program. To go a little bit further and to give an example, the college that I work at, Nassau Community College, we receive roughly about $600,000 from that particular grant. So we're making sure students are eligible for federal financial aid funds, and then they're paid accordingly. Our students are currently making $16 an hour from the Federal Work Study program. Now, in addition to the federal programs that I mentioned, the Pell Grant, the SEOG, the Federal Direct Loans, and Work Study, depending on your state, there are different grants and scholarships that you may be eligible for. I'm in New York. In New York, we have the Tuition Assistance Program, TAP. That is a grant for students. A student can receive up to $5,695 from that particular grant. And TAP is for both full-time and part-time students. So students have to make sure they complete a certain number of courses each year to continue to receive that grant. Now, in addition to TAP, New York State also has a program called Aid for Part-Time Studies, which is exactly that, a grant for part-time students who receive financial aid funding from New York State. Now, at my school, we award students depending on their enrollment level. If a student is taking less than 5 credits, they would receive approximately $500 per semester. If a student is taking 6 to 11.5 credits, they receive $1,000 per semester. And again, that is a grant from New York State. Now, in addition to TAP and Aid for Part-Time Studies, New York State also has the Excelsior Scholarship Program. Now, with the Excelsior Scholarship, students have to submit an application to New York State, and there are different deadlines. They have to apply, they have to submit they have to submit their transcripts and sign a contract with the state. And they're able to receive essentially full tuition at any of the state university schools if they are eligible. Students have to complete each year 30 credits to continue to receive that particular scholarship, and they have to have a minimum of a 2.0 GPA once they start receiving it. Now, the negative is if a student receives that scholarship and they decide to leave New York State after they're done with school, it turns into a zero interest loan. So that's one of the only negatives I feel with that particular program. Now, in addition to the federal government and the state, I also want to touch on other sources of funding at the school. I was very fortunate. I went to Hofstra University and I received an athletic scholarship. So I want to implore students, if you are being recruited, make sure that you go through the NCAA clearinghouse to make sure you're eligible, that you're contacting the schools, you maintain a relationship with the coaches, and then you should receive a scholarship offer, hopefully, depending on your sport. And now a lot of times students just think of sports such as football, basketball, where there are scholarships. I'm in Long Island. We have a lot of young men and women who are getting lacrosse scholarships from here. But field hockey, tennis, depending on what sports you play, even if it's a partial scholarship and you're not being heavily recruited, contact the school, let them know you're coming there. They may ask you to send in film. They may want to contact your coaches. And then let's see where the process takes you. But you may be able to get an athletic scholarship that way. In addition to athletic scholarships, primarily merit-based scholarships will be a big part of your financial aid award package. Based on your grades in school, SAT, ACT scores, your class ranking, you may be eligible for an academic scholarship. Now, the school that I currently work at, Nassau Community College, we don't offer freshman scholarships as they enter, but the schools that I was at prior to Nassau, Vaughn College of Aeronautics and Technology and Hofstra University, we gave scholarships based on merit. Just to give an example, the Hofstra Recognition Scholarship, if a student was in the top 15% of their class and had over 1,000 on the SAT, they received the scholarship. The amount varied based on their financial needs, so that's where that financial aid piece comes into play. So make sure that you check with the school, file for financial aid early, and you should receive, once you're accepted from that school, a financial aid award notification. Now, under another huge umbrella, and I did say that there are 4 sources, I want to touch on that big umbrella of other. And the reason I like to bring that up is there are a lot of different sources for financial aid outside of the school, the state, and the federal government. Depending on where your parents may work or where you may work as a student, you may be able to get tuition and remission from your school, your employer, or your parents may be able to get a scholarship or a tuition remission based on you being enrolled in school. Depending if your parents are maybe working in a different union environment, they may be able to get something because of their union with you going to school, or if you're enrolled and you work currently. In addition, I want you to contact different organizations, fraternities, sororities, clubs, to see what kind of scholarships and grants they offer. Your church may even have scholarships for graduating seniors that are off to college. So I want to encourage you to leave no stone unturned. Also, if you have extenuating circumstances that may not be able to be reflected on the financial aid application, contact the financial aid office at the school that you're going to be applying to. Let them know what the situation is. You may be able to file for professional judgment based on your special circumstance, and you may end up having additional eligibility because of certain circumstances you may not have even thought of, such as if you have a sibling enrolled in private school or parochial school and you're paying tuition, you might be able to do an income adjustment. If there are medical bills that are not covered by health insurance, you might be able to get a professional judgment done. So definitely contact the school that you're interested in applying to, let them know the situation, and hopefully they'll be able to help you a little bit further. For more tips and information, again, I want to implore you to stay on my YouTube channel and let's try to get through this journey together. Thanks for your time. God bless you.